up the birthright, Jacob actually represents the church because he gives birth to 12 sons, which are ultimately representative 12 apostles. So there's the changeover. And then the church receives a new name, just like Jacob did, the New Jerusalem. So that's why I think many of these prophecies that say they're against, that they are about Edom, are actually about Israel and 70 AD. And there has to be elements in here that are true for the nation of Edom, but there's that mystery, like Paul said, it was going to be a mystery that Jew and Gentile would be co-heirs and of the same body. But with that mystery is the idea that Israel will be no longer. Like even the apostles, after spending 3.5 years with Jesus, didn't realize that their nation would be destroyed, because when they would read these types of prophecies, they wouldn't see that their nation was actually going to be destroyed. And that's why they ask, are you at this time going to restore the kingdom to Israel? I don't know, I just don't see why God would spend so much time talking about the destruction of Edom.
Right.
It's all about.
I don't know if it's that much time though. It's just one little chapter.
No, there's so many other prophecies, like in Malachi and Amos. I think Edom was representative. I mean, look, Pharaoh was representative. That's why Paul brings up Pharaoh in Romans 9. Pharaoh actually represents Israel. He was hardened so that the Exodus could take place. And
Is Edom brought up in the New Covenant at all?
Well, Paul quotes it from Malachi. Jacob I loved, Esau I hated. But what Paul is doing there is he's trying to show through all of Romans that Israel is defunct. The law doesn't matter anymore. Circumcision doesn't matter anymore. It's all faith. They lost it because they sought it as if it was by the works of the law. So his whole point is that Israel is done for. And that's why he quotes from Malachi. Jacob I loved, Esau I hated. In Paul's mind, Esau, he uses three analogies there in Romans 9. Pharaoh, Ishmael, even though he's not mentioned, he mentions Isaac as the son of promise. And then Jacob and Esau. So in Paul's mind, the firstborn represented Israel. And in the firstborn never gets the birthright. It's always switched. Even with Jacob, isn't Jacob mentioned here? I mean, Joseph. Isn't Joseph mentioned in Obadiah? Hang on. Because Joseph and is another picture of Christ, only he has two Egyptian sons. So now Gentiles are being introduced. And when Jacob comes and gives the blessing, he switches his hands and gives Ephraim the blessing of the nations, the second son. And that's actually mentioned here in Obadiah. Verse 18. House of Joseph.
So what are you guys actually talking about?
Just going through Obadiah, but I was saying how I think Edom here actually represents prophecy against Israel.
Gotcha.
Just like in Malachi. It's in mystery form, of course. It appears to be about Edom, but I think it's about 70 AD and Israel being destroyed.
Gotcha.
I could be wrong, but that's just the way it seems to me. Even the way the chapter ends, it's, and the kingdom shall be the Lord's. So now it's saying, what kingdom? Did Esau have a kingdom? No, it's Israel who had the kingdom. But now it's saying the kingdom's going to be the Lord's. It's not Israel's anymore. And Mount Zion always points to the new covenant. It says, the last verse, then saviors shall come to Mount Zion to judge the mountains of Esau. And didn't Jesus say that the 12 apostles would be judging the 12 tribes of Israel? And then it says,
yeah, but was Esau wasn't part of the 12 tribes, though, was he?
That's what I'm saying. It's not about Esau. It's to judge the mountains of Israel. Because Mount Zion is not really the physical Mount Zion in the end. It's the church.
Like the true Zion, like the true
Right.
Jerusalem.
Right. If this chapter was really about Esau, then Israel would ultimately have gotten their promises physically. But that we know that's not what happens.
Well, depending upon your interpretation.
I mean, it's a spiritual fulfillment in the church, which is Jew and Gentile together.
When in doubt, go spiritual.
Should we read a little more of the next little section?
Yeah.
So the next section is called "The Day of the Lord is Near." For the day of the Lord is at hand upon all the nations. As thou hast done, so shall it be done to thee. He will turn thy reward upon thy own head. For as you have drunk upon my holy mountain, so all nations shall drink continually, and they shall drink and sup up, and they shall be as though they were not. And in Mount Zion shall be salvation, and it shall be holy, and the house of Jacob shall possess those that possess them. And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau stubble, and they shall be kindled in them, and they shall devour them, and there shall be no remains of the house of Esau, for the Lord hath spoken it.
Boom.
I mean, doesn't that kind of say that Jacob and what was the other one? Was it Judah or Joseph and Jacob will basically burn Esau? I mean, so I don't see how you can Esau beat Israel in this situation.
Well, if Esau represents Israel, then Jacob represents the church, which is my whole point. So what it's saying here is Jacob shall be a fire. That's the church. The house of Joseph, a flame. If Joseph represented Christ, then it says, but the house of Esau shall be stubble. So let me ask you, what are all the day of the Lord prophecies about? Aren't they all about the destruction of Jerusalem?
For sure.
So is this another day of the Lord?
No, I think to me it's all the same because Edom was destroyed too in that same time. It wasn't just Jerusalem.
I don't know.
But here, yeah, it seems like you don't see much of it saying like Edom's going to be destroyed. It's always like the inhabitants of Jerusalem. But it does say the surrounding cities a little bit too, I think.
I mean, I know in Revelation it talks about it's the judgment on the oikumene, which would be the empire in a sense. Doesn't necessarily mean only Jerusalem. Of course, Jerusalem was the heart of the destruction, but there was other things that happened, I would imagine, during the time period.
Well, in the beginning it said those who dwell on the cliffs of the rocks, right? So I don't know about that verse. Maybe I'm taking it out of context.
I mean, when you look at Edom, like you said, Petra today, there's definitely houses up in the rocks.
Yeah.
And it says, I think somewhere else it says it would be like a desert or empty or something like that forever, and people still don't live there today.
Yep, that's also.
If you read Malachi 1 and came to the conclusion that this burden of the word, see, it says in Malachi, the burden of the word of the Lord to Israel. But then it's quickly switches to Esau being hated. And if you keep reading Malachi, I think this one is really clear that Edom actually means Israel in Malachi 1. So that's like, it's a similar thing that's going on here in Obadiah, but it's more clear in Malachi in my mind.
Go for it. I don't know what Malachi says because I'll admit I'm a Malachi noob. Never read it.
I mean, if I'm just making that point, if you want to read that after, if you want to finish Obadiah, but I mean, if you think what I'm saying has any merit at all, then I would read.
I think that was the end.
Yeah, we can finish Obadiah and then jump over to Malachi, see if there's some type of backbone.
Yeah, very similar.
So the next section's called The Kingdom of the Lord. And they that are toward the south shall inherit the mount of Esau, and they that are in the plains, the Philistines, and they shall possess the country of Ephraim, and the country of Samaria, and Benjamin shall possess Galiad, and the captivity of his host of the children of Israel, and all the places of the Canaanites, even to Sarepta, and the captivity of Jerusalem, that is Bosphorus, shall possess the cities of the south. And Savior shall come unto Mount Zion to judge the mount of Esau, and the kingdom shall be for the Lord. So I think it's interesting that Ephraim and Benjamin get the land, because them are two different tribes.
But Ephraim and Benjamin are from Joseph, right?
No, Benjamin's. Well,
Oh,
I see
Benjamin.
what you
Yeah.
Benjamin's
Benjamin's the
Jacob.
other brother. Mm-hmm.
So Ephraim was from the northern tribe, and Benjamin was from the southern tribe.
Right, Ephraim and Manasseh.
And so here they're saying that Israel possesses the land, not that they're destroyed.
I do know that Benjamin did, like, there's something I remember reading that where something happened where it kind of sounds like Benjamin, like, mixed himself between all the tribes. Like, something happened where all the men of Judah had to take Benjamin's wives or something like that. Something like that. I could be way off, but I remember something like that. I can't remember where. But I don't know.
It's also true that Ephraim is the son. He's the offspring of the favorite. Like if Joseph, I think Joseph being the favorite son of is definitely a picture of Christ. You know, the son in whom God is well pleased. So Ephraim kind of, to me, always represents the nations. He was given that blessing. And did you guys ever contemplate that that passage. I think it's in John, where it says they wanted to kill Jesus, I think. And then so Jesus left. What does it say? He left the towns of the Jews and left the towns of Jewry and went to a town called Ephraim. I thought that was really interesting when I read that.
Yeah, it sounds like there's something to it.
Well, what does Ephraim mean? Because, I saw a story not that long ago that was like telling you about what Ada and Zillah, those names meant. Those are the names of two people before the flood.
I think Ephraim has the same word or comes from the same word as Ephrata, which is Bethlehem. Bethlehem is the house of bread. Bet Lachem. Bet is house, Lachem bread. So Bethlehem is like the house where Jesus comes from, which is, ultimately gives birth to the nations.
Looks like it means twin land.
Okay, well then what does Manasseh mean? If the one is twin land, what's the other?
Brotherland.
Non-twin land.
Other twin. Thing one, thing two.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like it means makes to forget.
So forget the older brother. I remember
It's
the one
interesting
that
that twin land, you had two tribes, and you also have Gentiles and Jews coming together, and two sticks coming into one.
Mm-hmm.
Did you want to show some stuff in Malachi?
Yeah, it's pretty short. Do you want to read it, Rob, or you want me to read it?
There you go. I think you should read it because you're the one trying to make the point. Right?
All right, so this is from the New King James. The burden of the word of the Lord to Israel by Malachi. I have loved you, says the Lord. Yet you say, in what way have you loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, says the Lord? Yet Jacob I have loved. But Esau I have hated, and laid waste his mountains and his heritage for the jackals of the wilderness. Even though Edom has said, we have been impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus says the Lord of hosts, they may build, but I will throw down. They shall be called a territory of wickedness, and the people against whom the Lord will have indignation forever. Your eyes shall see, and you shall say, the Lord is magnified beyond the borders of Israel. A son honors his father, and a servant his master. If then I am the father, where is my honor? And if I'm a master, where is my reverence, says the Lord of hosts? To you priests who despise my name, yet you say, in what way have we despised your name? You offer defiled food on my altar, but say, in what way have we defiled you? By saying, the table of the Lord is contemptible. And when you offer the blind as a sacrifice, is it not evil? And when you offer the lame and sick, is it not evil? Offer it then to your governor. Would he be pleased with you? Would he accept you favorably, says the Lord of hosts? But now entreat God's favor, that he may be gracious to us. While this is being done by your hands, will he accept your favor? Will he accept you favorably, says the Lord of hosts? Who is there even among you who would shut the doors, so that you would not kindle fire on my altar in vain? I have no pleasure in you, says the Lord of hosts, nor will I accept an offering from your hands. For from the rising of the sun even to its going down, my name shall be great among the Gentiles. In every place incense shall be offered to my name, and a pure offering, for my name shall be great among the nations, says the Lord of hosts. But you profane it, in that you say, the table of the Lord is defiled, and its food is contemptible. You also say, oh, what a weariness, and you sneer at it, says the Lord of hosts. And you bring the stolen, the lame, and the sick. Thus you bring an offering. Should I accept this from your hand, says the Lord? But cursed be the deceiver who has in his flock a male, and takes a vow, but sacrifices to the Lord what is blemished. For I am a great king, says the Lord of hosts, and my name is to be feared among the nations. So what I'm proposing here is this is totally and completely a prophecy against Israel and not Edom. Because the descriptions of what was being done that God hates sounds like what Israel was doing. And it starts off by saying the burden of the word of the Lord to Israel. And a couple of times it mentions that the Lord's name will be great among the nations. It's like a reference to salvation going to the nations. It even talks about the borders, the salvation going outside the borders of Israel. So how is that possible? Well, Israel is destroyed.
Well, it makes sense to me. I mean, the whole story is about Israel. Like, I don't know why you'd be telling me a side story about Egypt or Edom, even though they were kind of related at a time. But yeah.
When it says, Edom has said, we have been impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places, it just sounds like what God's going to do to Israel. They may build, but I'll throw it down. And this is the clincher for me. In verse 5, the Lord is magnified beyond the border of Israel. It gives it away. It's like this is talking about Israel. Otherwise, it would make no sense.
Unless Edom's destroyed and Israel gets it.
But Israel doesn't get it. We're not dispensationalists, remember? We know Israel lost it. That's the whole point.
Right, but so did Edom. Edom also lost it.
But Edom never had it. Edom wasn't the people of God.
Right.
True.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, they were the
So
same.
you don't think that 12 tribes ever came back?
What would it matter? I mean, if they physically went back. No, I don't think they did, because Hosea is where, the context of Hosea is the division and the scattering of the tribes, where the 10 tribes leave, and it talks about them coming back. But what Hosea really is a prophecy about us, not about the 12 tribes coming back. That's why Paul misquotes on purpose the prophecy in Isaiah, where Isaiah says, though the descendants of Israel be as the sand of the sea, a remnant will return. Paul says the same thing, except he says a remnant will be saved. So he changes it from returning to a land to actually just being saved. And the context of what Paul is doing is Israel doesn't matter anymore now. It's those who believe in Christ who are saved. That's the new Zion. That's the new Jerusalem. you know. So I think Malachi is clear. It's talking about, it's a prophecy against Israel, but it's veiled by using Esau, who was the firstborn, who actually was in Scripture. He was there to represent or foreshadow Israel by selling his birthright.
Right, that's the important thing. So it's like Esau actually did do these things, but it was all like for a reason. Like it was all encoding stuff at the same time.
It's code, right?
But it actually did happen. Like you can't know about this encoding stuff unless you know what happened with the actual scenario itself. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, you guys may not see it, but I just see, like, I didn't look closely at the Obadiah one, but it was reminding me of Malachi, which in my mind it was already settled in my mind that this is really talking about Israel. So when you were reading Obadiah, I was like, man, that is just like Malachi. It seems to be talking about Edom or Esau, but Esau actually represents Israel in or foreshadows. He's like a type.
Some people think Job was an Edomite.
Yeah, how would they know? I mean,
I know how. I mean, I think Job was living after Esau for sure, and after there's like certain names. There's like Bildad the Shuhite. Well, you can't have Shuhites until you have Shua, who is in the lineage of Abraham. So it's one of Abraham's children, or something like that, right? So it has to be, and then also one of them is a child of of Esau. So
that's a good point.
It has to be after Esau that Job is living. So that's where I get, at least that's my guess.
We were always taught that Job is like old, like maybe even before Abraham.
Well, yeah, before, like, they say it's the first one written, and it's like, even that's not even a false statement necessarily, because, like, what if it is? Like, it could still be true, because Moses didn't write down until after Abraham, but, and Esau and Jacob and all that stuff, right? So it's like, well, at that time, it could have been the first one recorded, but, I don't know. But it's not like old before the flood, like, like they try to make you believe it. It's not like that old.
Hi, guys.
What's that?
I said, hi, guys.
Hi.
Yeah.
Stacy, can you catch me up? I just got off work.
It's difficult. We're in between like two books, and it was Obadiah and Malachi, and the discussion is that even though it's talking about Edom and talking about these other nations, they actually are mentioned because it's Israel, and it's telling you that that's the characteristics of Israel. That's what some of us are leaning towards, and others believe that it's just to be taken literally, that it's just, these other nations, that the judgment is against them. And then we got off on a tangent on Job, and that's where we're at now.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, it's just a small tangent on Job. We can go back to the original point.
But I think the prophecies against the other nations, when you really look at them and see that, all right, well, Esau, his characteristics was that he sold his birthright for gain, and Israel did the same thing. And so when you see these old stories brought forth in a new light, referring to Israel and condemning Israel by calling them grotesque names such as Esau and things like that, that it really adds a lot of beauty to the prophecy, I think.
Right, and it's not absurd to think that God would call them because he does call them by other names. I don't know where it is. It's in Revelation, right? Where it says, is it 17?
Yeah, that's spiritually called Edom,
Sodom and Egypt.
Yeah, yeah.
So Israel is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt by God. So it wouldn't be a stretch to call him Esau. In fact, it would make even more sense because Esau was the firstborn.
Well, actually, it would also make sense because it was his brother. Right? They were born the same time. Right? It's Jacob and Esau. Both of them at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And always you've got the younger child that ends up getting the blessing, throughout all the patriarchal stories. And I think there's a reason for that.
Yeah. And then you got the story of the prodigal, where the older brother, he becomes angry and jealous, which was the prophecy about Israel in Deuteronomy 32, I think. The younger son gets saved, and the older brother doesn't want to rejoice. He's angry and jealous. So there's, again, like Jesus is reiterating the fact that the younger son gets the blessing and the older one gets nothing but angry and jealous, which actually happens in the book of Acts.
Mm-hmm. And that's the Song of Moses.
Mm-hmm. So it's safe to say that the whole Bible is about the destruction of Israel. But, it's an object lesson.
And the gathering of the nations. So.
Yeah, it's really the whole point of the Bible is that you don't get saved by works. It just boils down to that. You don't get saved by law or works.
So you're telling me that even if I had $600 trillion dollars, like just like a retarded amount of money, and I just like solved world hunger, like made like world peace, like I did all this stuff, like you're telling me still I can't? That's not gonna count for anything? Is that what you're telling me?
You'd still be damned to hell.
Damn it! Damn it!
If it existed.
I quite enjoy listening to that NT Wright.
Yeah, he's great, isn't he?
Oh, I got to find that podcast.
Yeah, I quite enjoy it.
That's a new one, right, Lori?
Yeah, I think he's only been at it a few months. Maybe not even. And all he does is answer questions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's one thing that I don't agree with him on, and that's his explanation of justification or righteousness.
What did he say?
He says that when Paul mentions the righteousness of God, it's not the thing that's imputed to you when you believe. Like, he doesn't think anything is actually imputed to you. But he says that the righteousness of God is God's faithfulness. Which is a little bit strange. I think that the righteousness is imputed to you or counted to you. Like, Abraham believed God and it was accounted to him for righteousness.
Just going to put a little note on your account here.
Yeah, it's just like God sees the faith and he counts it as righteous because you're really not righteous. So what God does is he just declares it righteousness because you believed.
It'd be like a debit and a credit.
Yeah, so he declares you righteous. And I guess the reason why N.T. Wright says you're not actually imputed righteousness is because he's looking at it like if you were, then you would be righteous. And you're not. But I guess it doesn't really make that much of a difference. Either way, you're saved because you believe him, and that's what he believes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with him on the, he doesn't believe anybody ever goes to heaven. So I'm with him on that.
What does he believe? He believes in the resurrection, doesn't he?
He's a partial preterist, even though he may not use the term. He believes in the corporate bodily resurrection.
Mm-hmm.
And he believes that the ultimate promise is right here on a restored earth.
Yeah. Yeah, I got that out of him so far.
Yeah, this could be a full preterist. He never really goes on to say that the coming of the Lord is in the future. When he really talks about how, heaven's come to earth, it's already here. It's according to, the way you look at things. It'd be interesting to hear someone press him specifically on his eschatology.
Well, he talks about dispensationalism.
Mm-hmm.
In comparison to preterism.
Right.
A lot of the times with preterism, though, people just ask silly questions. They're like, well, how could, clearly that didn't happen. It's like, see, if you would just take a time out and re-examine certain scriptures, you would see that, yes, it has, but no.
Ought to take it literally. And
It
that's
sounds silly to a lot of people right off the bat because they already have it ingrained in their head a certain way, and it's very hard to overcome that.
So I invited a friend to a music fest on the weekend at my cousin's, and then we were on the way. What's that?
Did you dance?
No. Anyway, we were on the way out, and we were talking, and she said, "Oh, so what have you been studying lately?" And you know what? I just shouldn't have said anything, but I did. And I didn't mention the name preterist or anything. I just, she said, "Oh, I don't know. I've just been studying a little eschatology here and there." And, "Oh, what's that?" Anyway, so I tell her about it. Didn't really have a ton of time to get into it. But, so 2 days later, this is what she sent me by text. I'll read it to you. No trying to break me in here gently or anything like that.
Wow.
She says, hang on here. Where is it? Oh, okay. I'll read it to you. It's just a picture out of this book, right? And this is what it says. Understanding will never bring you peace. That's why I have instructed you to trust in me. So they're taking scriptures, right? Whoever this is. That's why I have instructed you to trust in me, not in your understanding. Human beings have a voracious appetite for trying to figure things out in order to gain a sense of mastery over their lives. but the world presents you with an endless series of problems. As soon as you master one set, another pops up to challenge you. The relief you had anticipated is short-lived. Soon your mind is gearing up again, searching for understanding, mastery, instead of seeking me, your master. The wisest of all men, Solomon could never think his way through to peace. His vast understanding resulted in feelings of futility rather than in fulfillment. Finally, he lost his way and succumbed to the will of his wives by worshiping idols. My peace is not an elusive goal, hidden at the center of some complicated maze. Actually, you are always enveloped in peace, which is inherent in my presence. As you look to me, you gain awareness of this precious peace. So they took 3 scriptures, put them together, and this is what they came up with, I'm assuming. But I had no idea. I had an idea of what this was for, because she thinks I read the Bible. I ask too many questions and I'm too curious.
There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's commendable, actually, in the eyes of God.
So I called her. She didn't pick up. And so I texted her and I said, I hope this doesn't mean you're quitting Bible study. Because I wasn't sure, right? Like was she meaning this for me? And I said, understanding only comes from seeking God and reading the scriptures. Or am I confused and you are meaning this for me? Give me a call when you get some time. She goes, no, I thought I needed to send it to you, for you. Said it would be nice to know why. Is it because I don't believe the same as you in my eschatology? Because that's all we discussed, right? And it was only for like 10 minutes. I said, it seemed like a pretty heavy text to send to someone without any explanation. And she goes, oh, I felt led to send it to you out of kindness.
My goodness. Okay.
Yeah.
Led.
Yeah. Oh, she actually put led in quotation marks.
I would stay away from that debate.
I was like, anyway, so I called her back again. Anyway. And that was big. Oh, then I said, I'm a little confused here. And she goes, I think she is talking about a motive of control by thinking we need to work and study hard to know everything. Having answers instead of letting God reveal to us meanings that we may not understand while reading the Bible, or maybe he won't. Either way, it's up to him.
It seems like she got intimidated by your level of knowledge.
I just said to her, I don't think I need to work or study hard. I love doing it. I said, I realize it's not for everybody, but I really enjoy it.
Right.
Anyway.
What does it say about the Bereans? It doesn't say they sought Christ daily, although they were, by studying the scriptures.
I know.
That's how you become a disciple of Christ. There's nothing else to study except.
Honestly, I was like, Lord, I do not want to be angry with her, right? Because I know that maybe she's either fearful that I'm going off the deep end, or because that's what people believe, right? They think that you're in some kind of cult, or I don't even know. Because she won't answer her phone, right? She just texted it to me. And that's what bugs me. Anyway, that was my day yesterday. Or no, that was this morning. No. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. How do you even respond to something like that in love? Like, I didn't even know how. Hello, you guys. Are you there?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Because I know how she's thinking.
Yeah.
She's convinced. and to debate her on it is going to be futile.
Oh, absolutely.
You have to do what Jesus said, right? You got or whatever. Yeah, you got to answer them according to their folly, but not according to their folly.
Well, see, I know that. Remember the Bible study that I was telling you I went to? That's the one she goes to. So I know what happened is she went to Bible study. She discussed me.
You just have to ask.
And they told her to send this to me.
You just have to ask a question where she or he is going to actually defeat themselves by answering the question. That's how you have to set it up so that, like, when they actually come to the answer, they'll defeat their own question.
Now that requires introspection, and this person doesn't have it. She's focused on not looking in, but looking out, you know.
It really bugged me.
It is so frustrating when a fellow Christian thinks that studying or asserts that studying the Bible is somehow cult-like.
Yeah.
Because that's the way they make you feel, like you're cultish because
It would be different if you were trying to pawn this person and, you know, go tell them how wrong they were or something like that. Then that would be legitimate to send you something like that, you know, but that's not the case.
Well, I mean, she's the one who asked me what I've been studying. So I told her. Anyway, she...
Just tell her, you know what? Just tell her you've decided you're going to study the Book of Mormon from now on.
No, man. I had a huge long text, and then I just deleted the whole thing. I thought, this is totally futile.
Right.
I don't want to go down this road with her.
Right.
Because it's absolutely falling on deaf ears. And I just prayed.
She was part of your Bible study?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, she only came a few times. She's the one that I went to that Bible study with, and the guy was trying to tell me that you can lose your salvation for your behavior. And so I just started showing him scriptures. And remember, he shut me down when he said, if you deny me.
Mm-hmm.
And he just had this really weird look on his face. And I was like, okay, it's over. But she agreed with me. And I said, you know what? I believe that some people are there just to control the whole thing. And what's said and what's taught. And that's just not for me. Some people don't want the truth. And I know because I've been there. You just want to be right. And I think it's just, we're so, I don't even know how to explain it. Just, we're so taught this is the right way. You know, we're not taught to look at different views or. I was pretty annoyed though. And then in her last text, she goes, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's nothing personal." What? Don't take it too personal. What? How can you not? I mean, what did you guys get out of what that thing said? I mean, she's basically just shutting me down. That's what I took from it.
Yeah, I would have taken it the same way.
Yeah. So it wasn't all in my head. Well, I'm grateful for that. Because at first I thought, don't be so defensive. But when she didn't even have the guts to pick up the phone and talk to me about it, that pissed me off even more.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not even going to talk about it, like, just like normal people or something, like, I don't know, there's a problem there. Like, somebody's definitely got an issue with being wrong.
It was just weird. The whole thing was weird. Hasn't somebody ever done that to you guys? I mean, you had to. I mean, besides me, but I used to do it in jest. I never meant to hurt you guys. You know what I mean? Like I would say predatorism, right?
No, that to me is like a memory of good times. I was like, remember when she used to call us predatorists? Like, that was awesome.
Yeah, good time.
But I
So-
mean, I never meant it to be mean or to manipulate you into
No, I know.
thinking
Yeah.
you were doing something bad, you know?
It was funny. That's what you thought at the time. But I knew deep down inside that eventually one day you'd come to your senses. You-
I guess when you get corrected like that, I found it very condescending. That's what I found.
Probably. But that's me.
But I just knew that it came from that group of believers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. So she's not
We all
thinking
agree.
for herself.
I should not be the voice of preterism. Don
I didn't
Preston.
even say preterism. I totally avoided the word.
Right. That's great.
You know, and I tried to be really gentle. I just kind of believe in fulfillment, you know, scripture, and, you know, very gently. And it was only for like 3 minutes. Oh, well.
I don't know. They say like which one's better, like sharp or blunt? Like you just you just come out with it right off the bat and be like, by the way, you know what a preterist is? Like, you ever heard? You just start off with it.
Well, I'm sure they told her I was a heretic.
Sure they did.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
I wear my heretic pin as a badge of honor.
Well, I'm not used to it yet.
I think there might only be one mention of heretic in the Bible, and that's like I don't even know. It's only certain versions, I think. Like heretic doesn't appear in the Bible.
Some of the greatest people in church history were labeled heretics.
It's like a type of persecution, right?
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Even though, because I was sitting thinking about it this morning, and I felt really just weird the way it was all done.
Don't stumble. Don't take offense. Don't get your feelings hurt.
Yeah, and that's what I didn't want to do, right? I don't want to be offended. I don't want to.
Your patience can't increase unless it's stretched.
That's right, yeah.
Hmm.
So I prayed about it, and I gave it to God, and I said, you deal with it. But I will see her, and I will bring it up, because I thought what she did was really underhanded. Not responding.
So it's not so much a slam against wanting to know the truth of the end times, but actually being a preterist, right?
I don't know, because she didn't really say, right? Like, I mean, that's all she said to me.
But that thing about, you know, seeking the Lord like as if you're not, that's kind of...
If you're not means dead. Seek the Lord as though you were dead. Is that what that means?
No, I think it's because that's the new movement in the church, right? Is I mean, I've had my brother-in-law say it to me, that doctrine is not near as important as just seeking God, right? And I said, how do you know who you're seeking if you don't read the word?
Right.
How do you know his will for your life?
The doctrine is trying to find the correct thing about God and his plan.
Right.
I mean, without doctrine, there's just a creator. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't know anything about him or how he deals with man. The doctrine is the details.
Mm-hmm.
Devil's in the detail.
Maybe that's the problem. Yeah. Don't take it personal.
Stacy's right. The devil's in the details. Let's not study the doctrine anymore.
It's weird though that people think like that. Like even when I was a lazy Christian, didn't open the Word or anything, I admired people that did.
I always, when somebody does something like that to me, I'm never quick enough on my feet to give them the most wisest, profound answer. Always later on, I'm like, man, I should have said this. Like, the more you think about it, I would say to her, like, well, how do you seek the Lord? And sometimes just hitting them with a question, you know, and then letting it reverberate in their head for a little bit.
Yeah.
How do you seek the Lord? By studying the Bible.
She's probably coming from more of a charismatic when she's led to do it. So she would say, you seek the Lord by just getting quiet time and just
Right.
And without the Bible, actually.
Yeah, which is what the philosophers did. And look what they came up with.
Well, that's progressive Christianity now, right? That's the new movement.
Fortunately, yeah.
It absolutely is. It's all about feeling and how are you feeling.
God forbid I upset you.
Eisegesis, not exegesis.
Too subjective. Yes.
Yeah. But it's interesting because this is my challenge has always been in life is not to pick up an offense. You know?
I mean, there's only so much you can do if somebody's not gonna. If you can tell them all until the cows come home, whatever that means. But
but
yeah.
sometimes you gotta just let things go.
Exactly. Yeah. Sometimes the cows come home.
I struggle with that. I struggle with laying things down and saying, okay, I'm done with that. I like to work things out. I like to know you know what I mean? Hash her out, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes it's a good thing not to. Because it wasn't going to change her mind. I knew that.
The main point of a person that doesn't necessarily know what they're talking about is they'll ask you like 6 trillion questions all in rapid succession, right? So if you find they're like, what about this? What about that? What about this, that, and the other? Like, it's like, all right, hold on, calm down. Like,
oh, no, you know what she did? She changed the subject. Like,
well,
she didn't want to talk about it anymore.
So it's like,
okay.
Okay.
You asked me about it, not me asking you. And it was only like 4 minutes into it, maybe 5.
I mean, totally. See, that's the thing. Like, you get free reign that way. If they asked you, then you could be like, oh, well, now you can just lace right into them, right? They asked you. That's a whole different ballpark.
Yeah.
Rules.
Oh, and then the other girl I had a Bible study with, like, I don't know what's going on here. She texted me. I went on a holiday with a friend, like a mutual kind of friend. And she said to me, she texted me when I was down there. What did she say? Oh, what is it? Oh, I was something like along the lines of, you and Shannon went to Kamloops without telling me? Exclamation, exclamation, exclamation. And then it said, wow, exclamation. Like, wow, WWWWW, exclamation. I'm like, what is going on with people?
You got a lot of drama queens, don't you?
Holy cow. I didn't realize I was married to you.
Is that a literal holy cow?
You know?
Don't say that. Don't say that.
No, I didn't. All I said, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, here it is right here. You're in Kamloops with Shannon and didn't tell me? Question mark, exclamation, question mark. Wow. I said, we had planned it a few weeks ago, spur of the moment. Never crossed my mind at Bible study. I'm sorry. That was it. I just don't. Okay, Lord, now what?
I guess you could say, I'm honored that you'd like to spend some more time with me.
I mean, she's married, got 4 kids. I mean, what do you want me to do? Invite you?
I mean, there's only so much you can do. I mean, if you have already invited her, like, well, then.
I don't know. I think God's trying to stretch me here.
Mm.
Oh, I mean, it's like some people just aren't going to get it. Like, even it isn't like, dude, there's been some times where I like, that's the same thing, right? Like, that's where Matthew came from, right? He came from the universe of random chance. I was actually trying to get some other person to join, and actually, no, we got Matthew instead. But I think I would rather pick Matthew any day over whoever I was trying to get in the first place.
I don't remember who was that.
It was a guy, like, I don't remember. See, we don't even remember because it's totally unimportant.
Yeah, you were commenting. We were commenting on some video.
Yeah. And you actually replied. And I was like, hey, well, you can join us too. Totally not the person I was trying to get, though.
Matthew,
But it's okay. I got a better person instead.
are you still commenting on videos?
Yeah.
Am I recently commenting?
Yeah.
No, I hardly watch anything anymore.
Yeah, me either.
I wonder why that is.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't find anything really that interesting lately.
Wow. So I got the fish hook in right in time before you stopped even swimming around where the fish hooks are.
I very seldom watch a video
Interesting.
anymore either.
Wow. Well, you already knew about us from
Yeah.
before.
But
I used to watch Leighton Flowers all the time.
oh, he drags things out so much. I mean, come
Oh
on,
yeah,
get it out already.
You know what? I didn't really. I shouldn't say that. Didn't really watch his videos. I would just put them on and kind of pause it, so I could read the comments and then have debates with people about Calvinism.
Oh, that's funny.
That sounds like you.
Yeah, I would do that, as a pastime.
That's funny. I went for a few years. I never commented on anything. I very seldom ever comment. You never know when you're gonna get ripped a new one. And some people, I'm telling you, you would never know if those cannot be real Christians, some of them, the way they speak to people.
Oh, it's so easy on the internet to be nasty.
This one guy was really rude. I had made a comment and he was just really just ignorant name calling and everything. And I said, you do realize that you will be accountable for every word that you've typed. And he said, you know what? I'm really sorry.
There was a joke by George Carlin, really long time ago. Of course, he's been dead now a little while, but I'm talking about when he was pretty young. I remember watching a skit, and I'll never forget this joke. I must have watched the skit like 5 times in order for me to remember this. So he goes, I'm going to use a foul word, so excuse my language for effect. So he goes,
it's part of the skit.
Let me see if I remember this right. He goes, did you ever notice that the amount of, I'll say a-hole, the amount of an a-hole a person is directly proportionate to the distance they are away from you when you discover this flaw. So then he gives an example. He gives 3 examples. He goes, so the guy driving in a car, he goes, this guy's a real a-hole. And he goes, the person on TV, he goes, guy's a real asshole. Person driving in the car next to you, guy's pretty much of an a-hole. And then the guy standing right behind you on the line at the supermarket, guy's a real a-hole. So it's the same point as when you're on the internet. You're so removed from the person. It's easy to, call them a name. You're sitting at a computer screen.
Yeah, I don't see it that way. Not at all.
You should, right, and that's the way you should see it. It's still a person,
Well, not only that, but I believe we will be accountable for everything we've said and expressed on the internet.
What about? Okay, so what about? So you're telling me that also the people that camp me in World of Warcraft and just repeatedly kill my low-level character with their very high-level character, like, are they going to be accounted for?
I don't think that's really the same thing, Albert.
I think it
I
is.
don't know. Because you're engaging in a game of back and forth. But when Christians are calling each other filthy names, every other word on there is heretic.
Well,
you're a heretic. You're going straight to hell.
But who there amongst the two are actual Christians? Like, which one is the actual Christian? Like, you tell me. Like, how can we figure out which one's the real guy?
Well, you'd never know. I'll tell you what. Some of those guys know their doctrine.
I'll tell you one thing. That it's in debating a lot of Calvinists who comment on Leighton Flowers' videos. Calvinists, a lot of times, are known to be a little bit more nasty than non-Calvinists. It's funny how, Stacy, you just mentioned before that you don't like what the heck's his name?
Leighton Flowers?
No, I know you don't like him. Jeff Durbin.
Jeff Durbin, yeah.
So you don't like Jeff Durbin, you don't like Matt Slick, and you definitely don't like James White.
Right, you're right. You're right.
3 Calvinists.
Sure. I don't like Leighton Flowers.
Non-Calvinist, but you don't like him anyway.
But he's not nasty.
No, he's definitely not nasty. He is very polite.
Yeah, he is.
You got to give him that.
I've seen some that I thought that's kind of nasty for him to be that,
Really? I've watched quite a bit of him, and
he was aggressive. Maybe he was having a bad day, but there was one or two that I noticed the instances where he was pretty aggressive.
Well, if I was in his shoes, and to get some of like James White really goes off on him, like pretty badly. And then when he does a counter video, he's so kind. I'm like, man, this guy's better than me.
Okay.
Because I would go off on James White.
Yeah, I would too.
Is James White short?
He's not tall. I think he's
short, little, bald, demon-looking man.
He really does look like a demon. There's something about him.
What does a demon look like?
But Jeff Durbin looks kind of demonic too.
No,
nobody beats what's his pickle.
He's a pretty cool looking guy, Jeff Durbin.
What do you mean by demonic?
Jeff Durbin looks like a nice guy. It's just his actions of going out on street corners and telling Mormons how they're wrong, and I've got the truth, and I've got to share the truth with you the way I see it. I know it. That's wrong. But as far as his looks are concerned, I mean, he looks like he's a decent guy.
Did anybody see the video of Jeff Durbin where he went? It was pretty controversial. Where he went to Guinness, the beer manufacturer.
You told me about that, but I never bothered to.
Yeah, it was pretty odd that he did that. I'd be surprised.
I think it's for views, and yeah.
What did he go there for?
Views.
He's talking about the history of Guinness and how they played a role in Christianity, and where are they? In England?
He's pretty worldly.
Yeah, it was just a really weird. You could probably search it, Lori, if you want to just watch it for kicks. Jeff Durbin visiting Guinness. Very controversial.
Nobody beats what's his name. I'm sorry. That filthy rich Texan. What's his name?
Filthy rich Texan.
Oh, we talked about him before. Remember? One with all the jets.
Oh, and with all the jets.
What's his name? Stacy?
The one who's for Israel?
No. Oh yeah, he's for Israel too, but he's a charismatic dude.
No, it wouldn't be Joel Osteen.
No, not Joel Osteen. Oh, come on, you guys.
Oh,
Yeah, I know. He looks
The one that
demonic.
got interviewed. Huh?
The one with huge hands.
Yeah.
What's his name? Kenneth Copeland.
Yes. Nobody beats him. I'm telling you, there's something going on there, man.
Yeah, he's weird.
He's really
He
weird.
looks like a demon.
Yeah, he does.
Kenneth, you cope with Kenneth, you cope with all the land that
Yeah.
I have in you done. Oh.
Yeah, he doesn't do much for me, that guy. That interview was so telling. And people love him.
Well, he tells them fairy stories all day.
He's the one that came under the Catholic Church. He came back under the Pope.
He completely surrounds himself with yes men. So even when he was discussing with this woman, he was, like, you have to be one of my yes people. So let me explain to you. It's very condescending, but I don't think you have access to him really.
No, I don't think so either. There's been lots of people that have worked for him and interviewed after they quit, and they said that they loved him when they started, like watching him, and when they worked for him, they weren't if the husband and wife walked through or whatever, they weren't allowed to speak to them, acknowledge them, nothing. They had to just keep their head down and work.
That's weird.
Yeah. He's got quite the estate. But what blows me away is that Christians fall for this stuff.
Because are they really Christian?
I believe some are. Yes, I do. I believe they are. Absolutely.
You say some. I agree. Some are. But not all of them.
But I mean, he's got I don't know how many pastors underneath him from different churches all over the place.
Yeah, well, I can pay people too,
like different churches is what I mean. He's got a big, he's the head of whatever it is. I don't know.
Sure. Well, I mean, if you have a lot of money, you can be the head of whatever too, right? Just be like, no, trust me, I'm captain. I'll pay you, right? It's not hard.
Yeah. You shall know them by their fruit.
There you go. I agree.
Yeah, he never did much for me. You know what? Even when I was a brand new baby Christian, I used to turn this TV on Sunday because that's what I thought I had to do. And I would turn to these guys and I'd be like, man, there is something wrong here. I remember Jimmy Swaggart. And who's the other guy that got caught and went to jail? What was his name?
Jim Baker. Jimmy Swaggart, actually, I think, is a true Christian and came back as, and I've seen him on videos and he's spot on.
Yeah, I don't know.
Was that the one with the male prostitute?
No.
He got caught with hookers. But so was Benny Hinn. I mean, Benny Hinn was caught cheating on his wife. I don't know what he was doing holding that girl's hand in public. I don't know what he was thinking there. But I mean, there's some famous preachers. Like what's that guy that claims he's Jesus? And where is he? Brazil or? He's got a big following. I think 4 million.
Wow.
I call him a leech, a copycat.
and he lives in some big compound, and all his people are just dirt poor, you know.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah.
All those people are in it for the money, though. Clearly, they're not like, because if you were really in it for the Lord, then you wouldn't care about the money side. So like, money wouldn't be an issue. You wouldn't be like, well, if the Lord gives me like a jet airplane, like, I agree. Well, if somebody like donated a jet airplane, maybe okay, but then I'd also, you could always look at that like the negative side, like somebody's trying to get you.
Well, I mean, I was talking to a Christian about this. You know, all these big time preachers make all these tens of millions of dollars or whatever, and she said, "Oh, you know what? God blessed them. It's that simple, and we shouldn't condemn them for being filthy rich."
Well, in a way, I kind of agree. In a way, but
In a way, yeah.
In a way, yeah.
I'm not sure which way though.
In a way where you don't really have any needs, but when you get everything that you want and you just take, what you're doing is you're setting your eyes upon the world and not on Christ. And that's where most of them have a problem.
But I mean, they got their wealth because they became a famous preacher. You know, writing books.
it's true. But sometimes even if you are trying to be like just capitalizing, right, and just like taking advantage, and you're totally trying to scalp, you are still doing like the original purpose, though, aren't you? Right? Like if you have like scalp tickets for like the Phillies game or something, right? Or whatever, baseball, basketball, whatever game, who cares? Tennis, right? If you have the tickets, right? There's only so many. You can scalp them, you can copy them, you can fake them, but like eventually it's going to run out of value.
What about the preachers who don't seem quite as wacky that still have all this money? John MacArthur is supposedly worth a whole lot of money. Even Billy Graham. Don't think he had a lot of money?
Oh yeah, he voted.
Totally.
What about that Schiller guy? Robert Schuller.
Oh, well, yeah, of course.
And he's the one that mentored that rich guy from California. What's his name? I can't remember his name either. He's huge. The one that, The Purpose-Driven Life, he wrote that.
Yes, Rick Warren.
Yeah.
It's the same theology.
Yeah. Would you call that progressive Christianity? I guess you would, wouldn't you?
Yeah. I used to watch Robert Schuller when I was very young.
Did you?
Yeah, so strange. When I was little, I wasn't, quote, a Christian. I didn't become a Christian until I was 24 years old, but I could think back to when I was very small and, always watching television. And I would watch Robert Schuller. Then I would watch, there was another Catholic guy, a Jesuit guy, something Sheen.
Hmm.
And he's actually, Reverend Sheen something. He was a famous Fulton Sheen.
I don't know that.
He was a Catholic guy, and he would just wear his garb and just lecture. And I don't know if it was to a live audience or just to the camera. And for some reason, I just found it fascinating. And I also watched Mother Angelica. Anybody know who she was?
No.
Mm-mm.
She was a nun who had a show and would do the same thing and just lecture. So apparently I was searching when I was very little.
Or are you too young to change channel? We only have 2 channels, so.
Oh no, TV is the devil, Bobby Boucher.
I remember going to Sunday school when I was really little, maybe grade 1, maybe. And and we used to go to the pastor's house all the time. The pastor and his wife would take me and my sister home for lunch. Not all the time, probably 3 times. Anyway, because I was friends with their daughter, Elaine. And it turns out they grow up and both the son and the daughter charge him with sexual abuse.
Mm.
Yeah. Crazy. Why pastors, you know? Of all things.
I think sometimes pastors are somewhat framed too, that if you're a pastor, I forgot who it was, but he doesn't meet with the opposite sex alone. He always has his wife with him.
Oh, I could understand that.
And he said, it's inappropriate for me to do otherwise.
Yeah.
Even if I did otherwise and say it's legitimate, I would expect to be removed.
Mm-hmm.
And when people sort of demand that they meet with me privately, no, I don't. I have the option to say no.
Yeah. Well, you never know who's going to come against you.
Right. And they do it in politics all the time. They frame people.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you guys ever watch that movie Spotlight?
I did.
That's a good show. Who said that?
Oh, that's my girl.
Oh, Stacy, you got your voice is changing.
Sometimes she's listening and most times no.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was a really good movie. It was it's almost unbelievable, the damage that's been done by the clergy in the Catholic Church.
Is that what the movie's about?
It's how it started to unravel. Yeah. A true story about 3 reporters. And it started with I don't know, a few guys that were complaining against it, but it had been shelved and boxed away for a few years. Then it came back out with these 3 other reporters. And they started to dig and dig and dig. And at the end of the movie, well, it started to go, I think there was 90 priests just in the city of Boston, an area, that were caught. And they were caught. The Catholic Church was caught paying out private money and through these lawyers. And that's how it started to unravel across, the world. That's how it came out in Canada as well. That after that, it came out. It started to really come out within the residential schools where the natives were taken, and they were all taken from their home at age 5 and put in these schools because they wanted to knock the Indian out of them. And really, really tragic abuse. Just unbelievable. They figure that there's 50,000 children missing across Canada from these residential schools. That's a lot of kids. And nothing really ever happened, right? They'd ship these guys out of the country and transfer them to a different place. But it's funny, none of them ever got killed. Is the sun down there yet, you guys?
Oh, yeah, it's pitch black.
I can still see the sun.
Wow. Well, it's not that.
What's that?
I don't believe you unless you can take a picture and prove it.
What is it, 8 o'clock there?
8:15, yeah.
Yeah, the sun goes down here about, 8:45.
About what?
8:45.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, I got it.
Unless we
8,
have a storm.
9, 10, 11. No, that makes sense. That makes sense because it's this time. So yeah, that makes sense. You should still be barely seeing it.
Oh, hang on. Let me take a look. On the horizon, when I look at the horizon, it's about 3 inches above the mountain still. So it'll be dark. The sun will be, well, it depends if it goes behind the mountain or not, but I'm guessing about 9:30. Starting to get shorter
So
days now.
the question becomes now: what time is like noon for who? Like, who has noontime right now? Because the sun should be directly right over their head, right? They got noon.
It's probably Hawaii or no.
No, it would be past. It would be past. It would be past India.
What about the Philippines? They're 10 hours
It's
ahead.
12 hours.
The
Russia.
Philippines is?
So they're 11:15 in the morning.
Well, from here, they're 10 hours.
Right.
I think Germany or Russia or somewhere around there is like 12. 10 or 12.
Well, what time are you at, Matthew?
11:15, 16.
Okay, so you're 3 hours ahead. I wonder why the Philippines is only 10 hours ahead then, and you're 12. I wonder what the difference is there.
Daylight saving time and all sorts of other stuff.
Well, we're not in daylight savings now, so it's 12.
Yeah, it should be 12 even.
Yeah, it's 12 even.
Huh. Because Chris is there, my son is there. Right? I mean, does it depend on where you are in the Philippines?
I don't think so.
What did he said that, what was the city called that he's in? He told me. He was showing me pictures of the beach, just garbage everywhere.
Yeah, it's not Manila, right?
No, it wasn't Manila. I'd never heard of it. It was a smaller city. I know he had to take 2 flights, a ferry, and an hour's drive. That's all I know. They had 3 ferries tip over there, eh? Within a few hours of each other.
Didn't hear about that.
Last week.
3 ferries tipped over.
35 dead, I think. 30. Chris just told me about it.
3 ferries? Like, what was the reason?
Well, they were in open water, and they just said a big storm just came upon them. And
Oh, so the same storm tipped over 3 ferries at the same time.
yes. Yeah. But it didn't look like they were going from island to island. Chris figured that they were quite far out. I don't know where they were going, but and not one of them, these guys that were showing pictures, nobody had a life jacket.
Oh,
I said,
wow.
Chris, maybe before you get on that ferry, you could just do your mother a favor and go buy a life jacket.
When I went with my girl last year, 2 years ago, we went to visit her family, and we stayed in 3 different places. Two places were really nice hotel resorts, and nobody could come in. Of course, it was only the residents, but they were beautiful, like really beautiful, really nice places.
And where was that in the Philippines?
One is Boracay. It's one city. Well, and the other one is Cebu.
I think this one sounded like Sharon or Saron or I don't know.
But yeah, if you don't go to the resorts, yeah, the place, there's a lot of poverty everywhere.
She meant Samar. Probably.
Samar?
I don't know. I can't remember. I'd have to look at my WhatsApp. Yeah, he he said he's got a really nice beach house. Like the company rented them that, and they got like they cook all their meals and everything for them. But he said it's so humid. He said he can hardly work.
Yeah, we went in the winter. So it wasn't bad.
And he said the machine broke. The machine that they were using broke. And so now they have to wait for one to come from Canada. He said it's so disorganized. He's never seen anything like it.
So he's there now. Do a little test. When you try to get him on the phone, when you're looking at the moon, like if you can see the moon at like 10 a.m., 10 or 11, something like that, if you can see them, have him look at the moon at the same time.
Well, I'm looking at the moon right now. I'm going to ask him. But it's only, what, do we set 11 o'clock there or 12 o'clock there?
Right now it's 11:20.
In the morning.
In the
like
morning.
In the middle of the night? No.
Yeah, like it depends, because sometimes you can see the moon during the daylight, and sometimes they can see the moon in the daylight.
Huh. Oh, I can see it right now. I'm looking right at it, half moon.
But if you both can see the moon at the same time, then the Earth is flat.
I'll have to ask him. Oh, yeah, he's kind of a flat earther. I remember when I first told him about it, he thought I had literally lost my marbles. He said, "You have got to get off the internet." And then he researched it for a year. And what did he say to me? He said, a year later, he goes, "Well, there's only one thing I'm absolutely sure about. No, two things I'm absolutely sure about now. There is a God, and we're not moving." That's what he said. He said, almost everything else I think can be explained away. He said, but I just don't think we're moving. He said, what shape we are, I'm not sure. But like I was saying, I so remember being taught when I was young, the reason that the moon was the shape it was is because it was in between the sun and the earth. Maybe that was just a pacifier. It's in grade 2. What do you think, Stacy?
I don't really have a dog in that fight much.
No, me neither. I don't think about it too much.
Yeah, I don't know. There's some people that's all they think about, and I'm like, wow,
But I think there's a lot of people that have found the Lord through it.
Yeah, I would say so too.
Yeah. And the corruption. That's one thing that I learned, I think. I think it almost was not a good thing, was how corrupt this world is through all my YouTube watching.
Studying human nature is pretty depressing.
Yeah, I don't watch any of it anymore.
But there are some videos out there that are to restore your faith in mankind, and they show people helping other people and people helping
Mm-hmm.
things like that. I do like to look at that.
Mm-hmm. I think it was 9/11 that woke me up.
I had actually learned from someone that was in the military before I even went into the military. So I was in my early 20s, and he was telling me that Pearl Harbor was known about, and they allowed that to happen so that they could enter into the war, because a democracy will never go to war unless they feel, that they were harmed in some way.
Mm-hmm.
And that sort of woke me up, and I'm like, wow, so things that we hear in history aren't really the correct version. There's always something behind it,
Yeah.
And then I got into the military, and I experienced that firsthand. So,
Oh, really?
Yes.
How?
Going on humanitarian missions, but actually it was for intelligence gathering and things like that. I can't say much more.
So that's another thing I'm curious about too. Okay, so these guys come out of the military, the Army, the Air Force, whatever, Navy, and they start flapping their gums. Can something happen to them, or is there a certain period of time that has to pass, or what?
If they're speaking about classified information, then yeah, that's a big problem, and they could be prosecuted for that. Other than that, if they're speaking generally or vaguely, then I think they're more than welcome. It's free speech, to do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing what you can find on whitehouse.gov.
But I know in sometimes a war and stuff, in some units, they forbid you to have internet connections. You can't post anything on Facebook, things like that.
Right. I'm subscribed to this, I can't remember what it's called. Basically, they kind of keep you abreast of what's going on in Palestine. With videos, interviews, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be pretty heart-wrenching,
Yeah, that's something you kind of just look at to see the state, and then move on, because if you dwell on anything so negative, it's not good.
Oh yeah. I don't check it out often, but once in a while I get an email and see what's kind of going on.
Same with American politics.
Oh, I enjoy your politics because it's your guys', it's not mine. What I can't watch is mine.
Huh.
At least your guys' is entertaining.
There's some law that you guys just passed where you can't criticize your leader in a debate or something like that. Is that correct?
I don't know. The whole thing is corrupt.
I watch some political YouTube videos here and there and try to keep up with what's going on. And anything that's on Trump, it's amazing when you look at the comments, and you can just keep scrolling further and further and further. And everybody online seems to be pro-Trump. You don't get that. You don't see on television. You don't get that.
Not at all. Right.
No.
But online, everyone is pro-Trump, and it's amazing how many people comment from other countries. I can't tell you how many times I saw somebody from Canada say, "I wish we had a president like President Trump," or somebody, kudos to President Trump from Australia. It's like crazy.
Yeah.
I just read a comment the other day. It says, "We love you, Trump from Canada."
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just doing this girl's hair. She's from Washington. No, I can't remember. Idaho. And I said, so how's it going down there with Trump? And she goes, I said, oh, she goes, I don't know. She goes, do you like him or do you not like him? And I said, on a fence with all of that. I said, but what do you think? And she goes, oh, I love him. But she goes, I got to be very careful who I say that to.
Oh yeah, you could really get condemned quickly. There's a guy who he's a journalist. His name is H.A. Goodman.
Oh yeah, I've seen him.
Have you seen him?
Yeah.
So he was, I don't know if you know his story, but he was, I started watching him during the campaign, the 2016 campaign. Started listening to him a little bit, and he was totally anti-Trump and totally Bernie. He was all Bernie.
Mm-hmm.
When Bernie got scammed out of the nomination by Hillary, being a decent journalist, he found out right away, and being a good truth seeker, he started getting away from being a Bernie supporter. Now that Trump's been in office, he is 100% a Trump supporter. Now this guy was he was a Democrat, registered Democrat, and he would call himself a progressive, and was 100% Bernie. Now he's 100% Trump, and he feels that he's a good president, fixing the economy, keeping things safe.
You guys could do a little work on Chicago, Detroit.
Well, the thing is that these cities, like he's slamming the Democrats that have been running them now.
Yeah.
And saying that the billions of dollars have been stolen and pocketed, and these places are in shambles.
Yeah. What do you think the answer is there?
Get rid of the corruption. They're just there to steal the money, line their pockets, and not.
Yeah, but when you got 58 murders in a week, what's the answer to that?
Well, there's a lot of poverty too.
So what do you do for that, though?
They looked at that. Okay, so they did a psychological study on rats, and they found that when 2 or 3 rats get together, they can cooperate, they care for one another. But when you have too many rats piled up on top of one another, they actually murder one another and everything like that. So it's the same way with people. So people really, like, I live in a rural area, and people are far more friendly than living in a big city. So, it's you need population control. You need to, not be so condensed. And the way you do that is through property laws. People wanting to make a quick buck and put up these, apartments and, condominium things. No, people really need to be living in houses, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that would be a way. I'm not saying that, I think that would be a way to address it, but
Mm-hmm. What's a home worth where you're at, Stacy? An average 3-bedroom, 2-story home?
About 250,000.
Oh, that much, eh? What about where you're at, Matthew?
I'd say about 450.
450, eh? Yeah, I think it's sitting around 350 here.
I paid $350 for the house that I'm living in because it's small.
Mm-hmm.
The taxes are about 7,000
A year?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty well. That's pretty high.
Mine's $1,300 for each house a year.
Mm-hmm. But 7,000 for Long Island is way on the low end.
But Zach was amazed when he was up here looking at houses compared to where he's at, you know, because you can get a huge house, a lot of land for the same price that you can get a 1 or 2 bedroom house with no yard.
Oh, I know. Now, I don't know where my cousin moved, but a few years ago, she moved to Georgia in one of those, I guess it was an up and coming. I mean, she lives on a very large piece of property with a very large house. I mean, this thing is like, to me, it's a mansion. She sold her house here for something like 900,000, and
Yeah, she would be living in a mansion here.
yeah.
Which also, that's a good thing too, because you get more space, you get more property when you move out to the rural areas. But some people buy into where there's no malls where you're at, or there's no theater, or I mean, not movie theater, but you know, classical theater, or you know, that kind of stuff, you know. But you know, life goes on.
Hmm. I would probably love it there, but I like being near the water.
Well, there's plenty of water here. It's lakes, filled with lakes. I've got probably within a 30-minute drive, I could go to 4 different huge lakes. I mean, lakes big enough where you can water ski on and everything.
Same as here.
Where I'm at, you know, we're on basically it's big, but it's an island. So no matter where you drive,
Does it smell like sulfur seawater, like Florida?
no, not really. I mean, when you get close to the ocean, you can smell it. But I'm more on the North Shore, so I'm closer to like if I look across the Long Island Sound, I'm looking at Connecticut.
Are your beaches just like rocky, like lakes, or are they sand beaches, or what?
The North Shore beach, when I look, you know, across to Connecticut, that's pretty rocky. And but if I drive a half an hour south, then I get to the ocean beaches, and they're really nice beaches, white, you know, fine white sand.
Okay.
Yeah, we have some very nice beaches here.
You'd miss the sand because there is no sand here.
Right.
Georgia red clay.
But I live closer to the North Shore. I prefer the North Shore beaches because they're not super crowded. And it's much more serene. You can walk on the beach. There's no huge waves. And it's more picturesque than just being at the beach where you see nothing but water. But we're an island. Even if you like, if I drive west toward the States, we have to either go over a bridge or go through the tunnel to get to Manhattan.
How many lanes is that bridge?
There's a couple of bridges. Some of them are really like the George Washington Bridge. Oh my gosh, this bridge is like triple decker. It's got to have at least 6 lanes.
Triple decker. You mean there's like you can be above it?
Yep.
So how do you, when you're driving to that, Is there like a different toll for each level, or
It
how do you know where to get on to go to which level?
it basically, you can take any level, but it's basically a different lane will take you to a different level.
There's no fast
No,
level or anything like that?
there is one. Big trucks are directed to go to the top.
Well, that's what you want on top of you, big trucks.
Yeah, right.
Well, there's more height up there, but it's amazing how big these bridges are. It's like, I mean, to me,
You ever looked up bridge collapses on YouTube?
yeah.
Holy frick. Makes you want to get out and check them before you get on.
Yeah.
I prefer to take the tunnel. So when you're in the tunnel, you're below the Hudson River.
So you're underground and above you is water.
Yeah. Yeah, the tunnels go under the river. And you're in that tunnel for a good 5 minutes, doing 60 miles an hour.
Is there like emergency lanes that break down in that tunnel, and are there phones on the side or anything like that, or?
No, there's just 2 lanes in each direction.
So it really sucks when there's an accident, eh?
I don't go to the city that often. I don't really, it's a nice place to visit, but that's about it once in a while. I've never seen an accident there, though.
Oh.
You have to really the lanes are so narrow and it's windy. It's not a straight run. So you really have to pay attention.
Windy tunnels. I've never seen that.
Yeah, they curve, and I don't know what they averted. I don't know why they didn't just go straight. But New York it just baffles me how it works. Talk about, people being condensed.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And the amount of utilities and underground wires and pipes, and it amazes me how many stores and vendors are there, and yet they all get deliveries and cater to so many people. It's amazing how the place runs at all.
Well, it must be still kind of run on like location, like community. You would use your community store, and I suppose unless you were coming home from work and you were.
Oh yeah, most people. I mean, 95% of people that live there probably don't have a car.
Right.
So everything is walking or taking the mass transit.
Yeah.
Tunnel system. But there's a city under the city, which is even more amazing.
What is that?
It's just all the tunnels, all the train systems underground.
There's a little bitty mall called Underground Atlanta. They reopened it up. It'd been a lot larger, but now they made a little mall out of it.
Really?
Wow. So what's even more amazing is that Manhattan is basically rock. So they tunnel through this rock. I mean, I've never watched a documentary on it. I wish if they have one, I want to see it.
Yeah, and we're just basically wide open spaces up here. Lots of mountains and.
That sounds nice too.
Trees everywhere.
And bears.
Lots of bears.
Oh my.
Yeah. Grizzly. You don't even think about it though. There's the odd time you wish you had a.
My son likes to go camping a lot upstate. And
upstate, what would that be? Where would that be?
New York is very large. So after you get past Manhattan, then you can just head north or northwest, and you could travel all the way to Niagara Falls, and you're going through New York. New York is, borders Canada. It's how big it is. And so we call everything like past the city, we call it upstate.
Okay.
So, and it's rural, and some of it is just, uninhabited.
A lot of trees and
Lots
Well,
of
I've been
trees.
there. I was there. I got home 5 days before the towers came down,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't remember it. My daughter and I, we keep thinking we're going to plan maybe a trip there. And then one of the girls I work with, we were going to do, what's it called? Something week. What's it called? Designer week, or what, I can't remember what it's called. It's fashion shows and things like that.
We have bears too upstate. So my son, what he would do is
They're probably Canadian.
I don't know, maybe, but he's a pretty good camper, and him and his friends, they take like they do this thing with their food at night, where they string it up over a very tall branch.
Mm-hmm.
So the bears can't get it, because you can't leave it in your tent.
No.
Otherwise, they'll come looking for you.
We never give it a second thought.
if you camp in Alaska, you have to like cook your salmon and everything far out from your camp.
Because of the bears?
Yeah.
You've never seen that one video? You must have seen it, eh, Stacy? About that guy that American guy that went up to Alaska every year? I think he went for 13 years.
That guy was just asking for it, and he was on talk shows, and they were like, "I hope you don't become bear food." And he's like, "Oh no, not at all." But he was so cocky, and
Yes,
he did a
yes, he was.
service to the bears. He was cashing in on the bear, and actually harmed them,
Well,
harmed their reputation and stuff by he would argue with the park rangers and all sorts of things.
he still had some amazing footage. Oh, man. You can watch it all on YouTube. He got eaten. Him and his girlfriend got eaten. They said it was on video, but they do play the audio.
It's
But they
not
don't.
working. It's not working. It's not working. I'm playing dead and it's not working. That's not playing dead.
What? Say that again.
Okay, so when a bear attacks you, you play dead, and you might get mauled a little bit, but then they'll move on, and you'll save your life. But when you're screaming, "It's not working! It's not working!" the bear knows good and well that you're not dead.
Oh,
And listening to the recording, that's what he's screaming out.
I don't remember. I'd like to see you try and play dead when you got a grizzly mauling you.
I think
My uncle's written, 13 books. There's some pretty interesting ones. He tells a lot of stories because we grew up in the mountains, and like hunting grizzly, and because they used to hunt for sport, right? And just go and spend the weekend up at the cabins, and interesting books. Yeah, if you just Google my uncle, Jack Boudreau. What's one of them called? I've got a couple of them here he signed for me.
I can't watch hunting and fishing shows or hunting videos.
Something Red Mountain? No, it's not. Something Mountain. There's a picture of my mummy's in it. Grizzly Bear Mountain. It's my mom's brother. Oh, he's got a 5-star review on here. It's on Amazon. Some people must find this recording pretty boring, eh? Hey?
In what way? You
Well,
wish
just some of the things we talk about.
Not that many people listen.
No? How many?
None.
Zach.
Zach, he listens. He can't miss anything.
No, right? That's right.
Yeah. They might say something I have to debate tomorrow night. Where's he been?
He had a long weekend retreat, so he's been
Right.
pretty tired this week. He still he had to get up at like 6 o'clock in the morning, which is
Oh, was he on earlier?
after hearing these people snore really loud all night long. So I mean, yeah, I would be exhausted too because I can't go to sleep with someone snoring.
Oh, I could. I just put my earplugs in. And...
He can't stand anything to be in his ears. They gave him
Oh.
earplugs, but he can't put anything in his ears. He's a peculiar one, that one. Well, I guess it's time for me to go. It's getting almost midnight now.
What time is it?
Almost midnight.
Switching
Yeah.
hour. Is that your bedtime?
Yeah.
Same here. I got to get up early. So God bless, guys. Hope.
Yeah, I got to get my braces on tomorrow again. Oh,
Oh,
man.
okay. All right. You got to show us to them. I mean, show them to us to get back on. I want to see
Well, I've
that.
had my top braces on for 9 weeks.
I
Now
wanna
I got to
see
get the bottom ones put on.
I want to see the smile, a full metal smile.
My son said to me, we're walking down the street and I had my braces on and he goes, he had a name for it, but I don't remember what it was. He said, I've never really met anybody that you can actually tell they have braces on, but I can tell you got braces on even with your mouth closed. I'm like, yeah, I know. It's weird. I can't imagine what it's going to be like when I have the bottom ones on. And the top ones were by far the most painful thing I've had done so far.
Yeah, when they tighten them, I couldn't eat anything but soup.
They was just putting them on. I've had braces on the bottom and I've had Invisalign on the top and bottom. But that's it. All right, Stacy. I guess we'll let you go.
All right. Good night.
Okay, good night. Night, Albert.
Night.
Night.
Sorry to